We're going to dive into the data insights from last year's giving season to look at trends and opportunities for improvement. We're going to walk you through how to create a detailed planning calendar to ensure you're on the right track from now through giving season. Then we're going to talk about how you can develop a strong and integrated promotional strategy, discuss the importance of donor segmentation in your communication efforts, and why you should make sure you're doing everything you can to take advantage of the opportunity Giving Tuesday provides. To help us jump right in, I'm going to turn things over to Megan Davidson. Megan, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Arielle. I'm excited to be here today. Please make sure you're chiming in with questions along the way. Happy to answer them at the end. And we'll kick things off by talking first about some of the insights from last year's giving season. For the majority of nonprofits, the end of the year is a crucial time for engaging your supporters. With so much riding on the last 5 weeks of the year, it's never too early to start planning, and it's in your best interest to engage strategic segments of your supporters across all channels on several occasions. During this webinar, we'll continue to use the term year-end to refer to Giving Tuesday through December 31st. Let's kick things off with a few insights from giving season last year.
And before we get into the details of the data, we do have a question for you, and we want you to use that questions box on the right-hand side to give us your answer. And that question is, when do you plan to deploy your year-end campaign? Type your questions in the questions box. We want to hear from all of you. So we've got some October 1st, Giving Tuesday, starts in September, November, August, Thanksgiving. So there's all over the board is when all the nonprofits that are on our webinar are planning to start deploying our year-end campaign. So it's getting a lot of feedback of all different types of dates. So it's more important than ever to get started now because everybody's got a bunch of different start dates for their end-of-year campaigns. Back to you, Megan.
Excellent. Okay, a couple statistics for you. In 2017 on Classy, over 25% of annual donation volume occurred from Giving Tuesday through the end of the year. This increase in traffic is driven by both the momentum of a dedicated day of giving and by tax deduction deadlines. Though a significant portion of giving still happens in the last few days of the year, about 12%, expanding your year-end campaign to encompass Giving Tuesday makes for a more robust and successful campaign overall. Jump-started by Giving Tuesday and continued through December, we continue to see some heavy-hitting statistics across Classy when reviewing year-end campaigns. The average donation from January 1st through November 27th of last year was $115 on Classy. During year-end, so November 28th to December 31st, that average jumped to $190, which is a 79% increase. Conversion rates across campaigns, or the numbers of supporters who make a gift compared to the number that visit the page, also peak in November and December from about a 28% average. Throughout year-end, the use of donation pages and crowdfunding pages increased dramatically. Donation pages have more than 50% of gross transaction volume, and crowdfunding campaigns account for about 30% of gross transaction volume. In particular, I find this last statistic really compelling. When many organizations are calling on their supporters to donate, I think there's an awesome opportunity to strategically engage some segments of your supporters by asking them to fundraise on your behalf. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Before digging into more of the strategies for planning your year-end campaign, I did want to touch briefly on the change to tax laws, which most notably doubled the standard deduction. While we can't predict how the new tax law will impact year-end giving, we can share what we do know and talk a little bit about how our team is thinking about the change. With 21 million fewer households expected to itemize the charitable deduction, it's predicted that annual giving could decline by $16.3 billion, with donors in the middle class and the organizations that they support most likely to be affected. The new law also means that people will have more expendable income, but what's not clear is what they'll do with that extra cash. With the exact consequences of the new tax law still being uncertain, we encourage you to double down on your efforts to steward donors. Focus on giving your donors relevant and personalized content so when they do have that extra cash in hand, they're compelled to give it to you. For those individuals motivated purely by tax incentives, get with your team, brainstorm actions that you can take to counteract the impact of the reform will have on your supporters' behavior. Finally, continue to look for ways to diversify your fundraising, whether it's with your individual donors, corporate partners benefiting from corporate tax cuts, or with donor-advised funds, which are exempted from capital gains taxes. As you start planning your year-end campaign, keep in mind the emphasis on your donors. Resist the urge to talk about your organization and keep language donor-centric, again, to strengthen their connection with you. With so many donations happening at the end of the year, it's in your best interest to plan your campaign early to make sure that your appeal stands out from other communications your donors are receiving. It's never too soon to start. As you start planning, you'll want to be aware of a few key dates to help you capitalize on occasions that will also be important to your supporters. Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and of course, Giving Tuesday. Last day of the year, December 31st, and then the religious holidays that your supporters may celebrate. Even though many of these are singular days, you don't want to simply email your supporters day of to ask them to donate. Think like a for-profit here. Commercial giants like Target or Walmart won't just have advertisements for Black Friday on November 23rd. They'll build a sense of anticipation with ads leading up to the big day of commerce. You'll want to create the same excitement and build up for the charitable arm of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Giving Tuesday trio. Doing so can dramatically increase the effectiveness of your campaign. In other words, your year-end communications should start in early November, which means your campaign should be ready to deploy in October or so. You all are ahead of the game by getting the wheels turning today. So let's start by diving into some strategies to create a planning calendar and help you avoid feeling rushed once year-end hits. Start off by using your data. Take a look at previous year's campaign's results. What went well? What didn't? Look at last year and think about your key takeaways and how they can inform your strategy for this year. Next, you'll want to look at your donor data and understand the personas of those who gave last year. Were they new? Were they returning? And did your Giving Tuesday donors also make a gift in December? You can start to identify strategic populations of your supporters that you can engage by speaking to their interests, past gift history, and the different ways they currently support your organization. As well, start looking for new segments of donors that you can engage in a creative way. Next, make sure you're learning from others. I'm sure there are many of you out there who have other organizations that you admire or support. Take a look back at your emails from last year for inspiration and grab some new ideas to try out this year. As well, when you're getting started this early, it's a great time to secure your matching gift funds. Matching gifts are a common way to incentivize your donors by doubling their impact. And you can get creative here. Matching gifts don't necessarily have to come from corporate partners. They can come from board members or major donors that you want to engage in a new way. And the bonus here is that you're securing their gift early. Next, start to hone in on your particular strategy and craft your plan. Create your campaign's theme and story arc. As you craft your appeal, focus your language on your supporters, not on yourself or your organization. Again, make the story donor-centric. Introduce it and develop it over the duration of year-end. Think about how you can tap into the emotions of your supporters and frame their contributions as absolutely central to the success of the campaign or the solution to the problem that you are describing. Toward the end of the campaign, make sure to create a sense of urgency to compel your donors to donate. By September, aim to have your story arc completed and start preparing your campaign assets, so your materials for your website, social media, and email content. Think about how you'll integrate your online portion of your campaign with your offline presence. If your year-end campaign has a direct mail component, your story should be integrated across all modes. Online and offline are not distinct appeals. Continue the story for your donors across each communication that they receive. Your next step is to define your audience. How will you target different groups of donors? Through October, you'll want to lay out your high-level schedule. Outline what messages are going out via what mode of communication on what dates. Think too about which segments of donors should receive each of these messages. You may not send every piece of direct mail or every single email to every supporter. Once you have your outline schedule mapped out, start to flesh it out, and here's where you get creative. How will you tap into your donors' emotions and convey the impact of their contribution? Remember, keep things donor-centric here so they feel absolutely compelled to support you. You can also start to plant the seed in your October communications for what supporters will see in November and December. Come November, you'll be ready to rock and roll. Build excitement for your campaign and start communicating with your donors early on in the month. You'll want to send more than one email to build anticipation and make sure they know when they'll be called upon to take action. Using Giving Tuesday as a launchpad for your year-end campaign can be really successful because your supporters are out there looking to donate. Capitalize on the excitement of the day and roll it into the rest of your year-end campaign and communications. Whenever you do launch, make a big splash. Plan to email your supporters more than once in that first week. And if you're launching on Giving Tuesday, plan to send more than one email on that day in particular. A 2 to 3 part email series increases your response rate up to 4 times and almost doubles the average donation size, according to an M&R study. Next, we'll jump in and talk about how to successfully promote your campaign. Your communications are crucial to your campaign success, so make sure you're also giving yourself time to plan out how you'll commit your campaign story to email, website, direct mail, and social media channels throughout the final weeks of the year. Successful year-end campaigns make sure to do 2 things. First off, they maintain cohesive messaging and branding across all modes of communication. Again, your offline and online components are not separate or distinct. They each contain crucial components to the story arc of your entire year-end campaign. Tap into each of your promotional channels to engage your supporters effectively. I'm going to turn things back quickly to Arielle as a GuideStar expert who's going to say a few words about how to set up your free GuideStar profile.
Thank you, Megan. So here's our kind of self-promotional plug here. One of the easiest things that you can do and quickest things that you can do right now to make an impact on giving season is to update your free GuideStar nonprofit profile. On your organization's profile, you can add contact information, addresses, social media handles, images, your logo. You can add board member and leadership information about your mission and programs, audited financial documents, and metrics to communicate the impact you have on the communities you serve. You can share more information by earning a GuideStar Seal of Transparency. The Seals of Transparency are not a rating. Each level of transparency is a step further in telling your organization's full story, and more importantly, each step is completely free to achieve. It just takes a little bit of your time. A brief rundown of each seal. Bronze is basic information, silver is financials, gold is all about long-term goals and strategies, and platinum shows the difference you are making by sharing year-over-year metrics. Your GuideStar nonprofit profile provides you with a platform to share your organization's story, not just with the more than 9 million people that visited GuideStar's website last year, but your information is amplified by the 200 plus philanthropic websites and applications that use GuideStar's nonprofit data. And some examples of those organizations and platforms include Facebook, Amazon Smile, Volunteer Match, and major U.S. donor-advised funds. So a few minutes spent updating your nonprofit profile today can help you amplify your voice to millions now and throughout all of giving season.
All right, we'll switch things back over and talk about the second aspect of successful year-end campaigns, and this is reaching out to donors on multiple occasions across multiple channels. As I mentioned before, you want to build anticipation in October and November for your year-end appeal so your supporters get excited and know when they'll be called upon to take action. As you transition into year-end, make sure you share your Giving Tuesday results. So treat it like a campaign within a campaign in this regard. And then continue the emotional appeal and storytelling through November and December to keep your supporters engaged. Your communications should still be across all channels. Continue to email, continue to post on social. As your campaign continues, make sure you're using data from your supporters. For example, if someone hasn't opened 2 or 3 consecutive emails, you might want to avoid sending them any more asks until the last 2 weeks of the year. You don't want to risk them hitting unsubscribe by continuing to flood their inbox with messages that they're not taking action on. But if a donor has opened your emails and just failed to click through, continue to send them messages until they do so, because they've shown you that they're interested at least in the content and just haven't been hooked yet. Try switching up your subject lines, email narrative, visuals, calls to action, and other elements to test what donors respond to. Once donors do make a donation, stop sending them appeals. Otherwise, you'll give the impression that you're not paying attention to their gift, and your emails will irritate them. Finally, toward the end of the year, aim to create a sense of urgency to encourage donors as you conclude your story and drive them to make their contribution. Because the last few days of the year are so volume high, remember about 12% of the year's giving in total, make sure to increase your asks as well. There's a correlation between an increase in email volume and increased revenue. All right, we're going to next check out a few of our favorite campaigns that had strong promotional strategies in their 2017 year end. Breast Cancer Research Foundation did an excellent job of building a consistent story across its end of year appeal last year. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is October, so BCRF starts its campaign communications in September to build anticipation for October. Throughout the month of October, they keep enthusiasm high by capitalizing on Breast Cancer Awareness Day, also in October, and engaging corporate partners that provide a match to the campaign for that day. These efforts allow BCRF to front-load donations, build momentum, and see early success as they move into the latter part of their campaign in November and December. They continue to develop their campaign story arc into Giving Tuesday and year-end donations to drive donations all the way up through the end of the year. Even though Giving Tuesday is a single day of giving, you should begin your outreach at the beginning of November regardless. Jill's House did an excellent job of this and raised triple the goal that they had set for themselves. At the start of November, they started talking about Giving Tuesday in their newsletters, on social media, and in dedicated emails. One of my favorite parts of their communication plan was the opportunity they gave to donors to sign up for a reminder to donate on Giving Tuesday. Come Giving Tuesday, they had a list of supporters already quote-unquote opted in to giving who they could email at the start of the day to get early donations and build momentum throughout the day. As Giving Tuesday continued, Jill's House kept donors engaged with updates on progress toward the $30,000 challenge match. Once they hit that $30,000 target around midday and secured the match from their partner, they kept enthusiasm high by focusing on impact. For every child that is removed from their waiting list, 4 more families begin the application process. They featured personal stories from families who had visited Jill's House, and then toward mid-afternoon announced another match for $10,000, which their donors continued to rally behind. All in all, they raised more than $100,000 just on this day. Because International also did an excellent job of appealing to their donors across all promotional channels. Again, no single channel, and that includes social media, is sufficient to be the only means of communicating with your donors. Increase your campaign success by weaving in elements of your story across email, your website, social media, direct mail, etc. Because International tied their communications together with a clever hashtag that married their specific concrete goal of providing 600 pairs of shoes to children with Giving Tuesday. They branded their appeal as Giving Shoes Day. They had a multi-channel approach that crossed their emails, social media, and website beginning 3 weeks before Giving Tuesday, which they treated like a micro appeal and a supplement to their overall year-end online fundraising goal. They tied the messaging of their brand, their catchy hashtag, and their tangible and specific goals to cohesively together and messaged these elements consistently throughout their communication avenues. After Giving Tuesday, they transitioned into their year-end appeal and capitalized on the progress they had made on Giving Tuesday. To continue with the momentum, they encouraged donors who had not given on Giving Tuesday with language like, if you forgot to donate, you can still give. And they segmented their communications by thanking those that had given and then removing them from year-end communications so as not to continue to flood their inbox. You've heard me say a few times that you want to email your supporters more than once, but you also want to make sure that you're purposeful in your emailing and not blanketing every supporter in your database with the exact same emails on every occasion. Let's next dive into talking about donor segmentation. In an increasingly digital age, your donors are going to get more emails now than they ever have before. Cut through the noise by segmenting your emails so that the content of your email and your ask are tailored to strategic subsets of donors. Segmenting communications results in higher open rates, lower unsubscribe rates, better deliverability, and overall greater revenue. Make sure that your emails are relevant to your supporters and reflect their previous support of your organization. You can segment donors in a number of ways. Again, look at your data and decide what makes most sense for you. You don't have to do all of these. Pick the ones that are most obvious, most easy to execute on, and build from there. You can look at the size of past gifts, segmenting your appeal according to donors' previous history. It's in your best interest because you can maximize results by putting suggested gift amounts in front of them that reflect their capacity to give. Your appeal should also reflect past giving behavior and maybe send recurring donors or a past fundraiser a different appeal than a new donor or a one-time donor. In keeping appeals personal, if you know your supporters' preferences, reflect them in your appeal by asking them to support a particular program. Finally, you can strategically engage supporters who haven't had a recent gift. Consider segmenting your appeal for volunteers, supporters that are on your blog or email list who haven't historically given, or for your lapsed populations, your Libunts and your Sybunts. These strategies can massively increase the effectiveness of your campaign. As an example, in their Giving Tuesday and year-end appeal, Charity Navigator was extremely purposeful in their segmentation, personalizing both email communications to donors as well as the campaign pages that they drove those donors to. Their end result was that 24% of their donors were net new, and their average year-end gift was 11% higher than what they saw over the rest of the year. Even when you wrap up your campaign, continue that segmentation right into your thank yous. Make your donors feel special so they continue to support you in future appeals. Again, a common and pretty easy one is to segment your thank yous by gift amount. You might not be able to send personal thank yous to every donor, but it's still a good idea to build special follow-up strategies, particularly for those who give larger gifts. Take a look at your data and try setting different threshold amounts for different types of outreach where you see trends emerge. For example, for large gifts, maybe those that are $400 or more, send a handwritten letter. Donors who made mid-sized gifts, $200 to $399, could receive a personalized email and a shout out on social media. And then lower gifts, $1 up to $199, maybe just a personalized email for them. You can also show your supporters that you pay attention to their gifts and interests by sending thank you messages that touch on the specific programs that they donated to. This level of personalization can impress your donors and show them that you really care. Even if donations don't come into a specific program, your thank you should still highlight impact. Explain where their money will go and how it will make a difference. Affirm your supporters' decision to give by describing how gifts like these have enabled your organization to make a lasting change in your field. When thanking donors, consider highlighting a short story about a beneficiary or telling a statistic about your cause to assure donors that their contributions will be used effectively. Finally, don't just stop at thank you. While new donor retention is 25%, retention of returning donors is significantly higher. Keep new donors engaged by following your thank you with a 2 to 3 part email series that includes additional resources to educate them about your organization and its programs. In your last email, ask them to opt into your newsletter so that they can become part of your regular communications and continue to be stewarded. We touched on this at the start of today's webinar and a few times throughout, but it bears repeating. Giving Tuesday is an opportunity that just can't be missed. We'll wrap things up today by talking in more detail about exactly why. In 2017, 3.4% of all transactions on Classy occurred on just Giving Tuesday. That's 13 times more than any regular day on the platform, and the amazing statistics don't stop there. Organizations acquire 3 to 5 times more donors on Giving Tuesday than on a regular day, and 15% of donors acquired on Giving Tuesday give again before the next Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday also generates twice as many new donors as December 31st, and 3 times as many new donors as a regular day during disaster relief. Revenue-wise, Giving Tuesday generates 13 times as much money as a regular day. In other words, both new and returning donors are out there ready to give. Make sure it's to you. Giving Tuesday donors are motivated supporters. Not only are they more likely to give again before your next year-end campaign, but they're also more likely to be fundraisers than other year-end donors, 3 to 4 times more likely, in fact. So both new and returning donors are out there looking to support organizations that they care about. Make sure that they're giving to you. For additional insights into Giving Tuesday, you can head to the Classy blog to download the State of Modern Philanthropy, and we'll also be sending out this link to download in the follow-up email that you'll receive after the session. Here we'll touch on a common question I get as an account manager here at Classy. Giving Tuesday is a powerful start to your year-end campaign, and excitement's going to naturally build among your supporters who celebrate and/or participate in Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. After those couple days of gluttony, you can give your supporters a means of feeling good by supporting your awesome work. But if you don't have time to create a separate and unique appeal from what you were planning for your year-end story, just don't. We talked earlier about some of our favorite year-end campaigns that were super effective. Both Breast Cancer Research Foundation and Because International used Giving Tuesday to launch their year-end campaigns and extended the same story throughout. Develop your storyline over those 5 weeks of the year, strategically engage supporters to keep their emotions and excitement high, provide matching gift opportunities, competitions, and incentives like donor shoutouts or even swag. In the day or two after Giving Tuesday, make sure you thank your donors and segment your next approach. Either opt them out of year-end communications or include them in progress updates only, or perhaps softer asks like consider donating again or share this campaign. Depending on the readiness of your Giving Tuesday donors, you could also consider engaging them in creative year-end efforts, like asking them to fundraise on your behalf as part of a peer-to-peer campaign. Just to give a little context to some of those strategies and statistics, we'll jump into a few of our favorite Giving Tuesday campaigns in particular. This one from Lawyers for Children is one of my favorites from Giving Tuesday of last year. They have excellent images to hook their supporters' attention. Really, how cute are those kids? And they make their creative match for new donors and increased gifts from returning donors a prominent section of their campaign page. They also use their donors' giving history to outline different suggested gift amounts and tie them to the impact these gifts could make, like supporting legal and social work services for an abused or neglected child. Here's an example from Amar US of a peer-to-peer campaign, unique among the many crowdfunding campaigns and donation pages that you'll find at year-end. Amar US's supporters are called on to broaden their impact of their contribution by fundraising on the organization's behalf. The beautiful design is reminiscent of a microsite, and they do an excellent job of featuring individual stories to foster connection with potential donors and bring life and variety to the campaign page. Our final favorite campaign isn't quite a Giving Tuesday campaign, but it's an awesome example of a creative appeal from an organization that knows its supporters and what motivates them. Released in November and positioned as a Thanksgiving holiday alternative, Woodstock Sanctuary positions donations as turkey sponsorships. They send donors a card, a photo, and the rescue story of donors' new turkey friends. They further empower supporters to spread the word, encouraging these sponsorships as gifts and thought-provoking centerpieces for the Thanksgiving table.